Revealed. This amazing black waitress solved a billionaire's complex puzzle in just 30 seconds. The clattering of dishes and laughter filled the bustling restaurant. But amidst the chaos, Maya's focus sharpened. At 25, this spirited young waitress juggled 3 jobs. Her dreams of studying mathematics a distant echo in her mind. Every day, she supported her single mother and younger siblings, putting their needs before her own, filling the gaps left by a fractured dream. Yet, she didn't complain. Her heart raced with determination as she navigated the demands of the upscale Atlanta eatery. One evening, while delivering a steaming plate of fried catfish, her gaze fell upon a man tucked into the corner, his weary eyes fixed on an intricate puzzle. The tension in his posture, shoulders hunched, fingers drumming, spoke volumes. Maya recognized that familiar intensity. It mirrored her own struggles as she balanced familial obligations and aspirations. Unable to resist, she approached, her heart fluttering with a mix of courage and fear. "Do you need help with that?" she offered, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside. He looked up. Carter, a billionaire wrapped in the husk of his crumbling empire. His shocked expression was fleeting, replaced by curiosity. This wasn't just any puzzle. It was a labyrinth of numbers and possibilities. "I've been trying to crack it for hours," he admitted, exasperation crackling in his tone. Maya's mind soared. She wasn't merely a waitress. She was a problem solver. Standing there, she felt her pulse quickening, grappling with the weight of opportunity that carried an unspoken cost. This moment could change everything. With every step closer, the urgency wrapped around her, squeezing her chest. What if she failed? What if, in attempting to help him, she lost the delicate balance she had painstakingly built? The restaurant's ambient noise faded away as Maya focused her thoughts. Ignoring the rising panic, she closed her eyes for a fleeting second, drawing strength from years of overcoming obstacles. Once she began outlining the solution, words flowed from her lips, her thoughts racing as she reveled in the thrill of the challenge. The table grew still, patrons transfixed as she methodically tore through the layers of complexity. Mere seconds passed, and just as her fingers nudged the puzzle to the side, Carter's astonished gaze sparked a glimmer in her chest, an exhilarating blend of fear and validation. "That's incredible," he murmured, his voice laced with urgency. Without hesitation, he extended an offer that sent shockwaves through her busy mind. An internship at his tech company. Not merely a job, but a lifeline. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Maya's pulse quickened. The glimmer of hope flickered, yet dread brushed against her heart. The corporate world loomed ahead, thick with skepticism and doubt, voices she had narrowly escaped all her life. Could she brave it? Could she rise above the hurdles of prejudice while remaining steadfast for her family? Night after night, she wrestled with her ambitions, feeling the suffocating weight of expectations press down on her. Would they blame her if she took this leap? In moments of self-doubt, the walls felt close, echoing the realities of a world that often dismissed her worth. A storm within brewed, threatening to unravel everything. Any slight misstep could send her tumbling backward into a life she desperately sought to transcend. She stood at the precipice, uncertainty weighing heavy, leaving readers poised on the edge, anxiously anticipating how far she would dare to leap when confronted with the inevitable betrayal waiting just beyond the horizon. Maya stared at the offer laid out before her like a shimmering beacon, illuminating the dark corners of her self-doubt. It seemed surreal that a single moment could ripple through the fabric of her existence, teasing the possibility of transformation. As she wiped down the table, the damp cloth felt oddly reassuring in her grip, solid, tangible. Yet, was it enough to ground her as she floated in uncertainty? The restaurant buzzed with life around her, each laugh and cheer echoing the very essence of what she had been fighting against: complacency. Here she was, a mere waitress caught in a cycle of survival. Yet Anderson Software Solutions beckoned her with promises of a world she only dared to dream of. A world of mathematics, algorithms, and the thrill of innovation. But such dreams did not come without sacrifices. What would her family say if she left them behind, even for a brief internship? Would they see her abandoning them, or finally pursuing what she had always wanted? Her mother, sacrificio itself incarnate, had toiled and bled to provide a crumb of comfort for her children, never wavering even when illusions of dreams were stripped away by harsh realities. That tenacity was imprinted within Maya. But perhaps it was time for that resilience to take a different form, one that could carve a path not only for her family, but also for herself. A thump brought her back to the present. Carter's intense gaze ignited a flicker of the same bold confidence she had felt while solving the puzzle. He had witnessed her brilliance in the chaos of that restaurant. Perhaps, just perhaps, he saw something in her that she hadn't been able to see herself. She took a step back from the table, glancing over at him, her heart pounding fiercely. "Can I think about this?" she asked, the instinct to flee mingling with a fortitude she didn't know she possessed. "Of course," Carter replied with an earnest expression. "But don't take too long. Opportunities like this don't wait around." As the night wound down, Maya felt the weight of the decision blanketing her like a heavy coat. The drive home felt interminable, a place where every moment stretched out in front of her like a seemingly insurmountable maze, a stark contrast to the clarity she had briefly tasted. "You should really consider it," her mother's voice echoed in her mind. "All I want is for you to be happy, to have a life I couldn't give you." Could she step through that threshold of her mother's hopes while navigating the jagged terrain of her own ambitions? Back at home, the laughter of her siblings faded into a soft murmur as they settled down for the night. It was then that the weight of expectation hit harder than ever. Could she abandon her role as caretaker, abandoning a life situated atop sacrifices, to chase what felt just out of reach? Her fingers nervously brushed the brochures she had collected during her brief moments at community college, each a testament to unfulfilled potential. The clock ticked steadily, counting down towards a decision she needed to make, one that might either elevate or devastate her. Each tick echoed the enormity of her choice. The internal conflict spiraled, threading through her mind with increasing urgency. Amidst this turbulence, her phone buzzed insistently. An unknown number flashed on the screen, and with a rapid heartbeat, she swiped to answer. "Maya. It's Carter. We need to talk." The shiver of unease crept in, draping her heart in anxiety. The conversation could change everything, yet somewhere within her, a flicker of resolve ignited. The time had come to face the truth, the consequences of either choice looming like shadows on the edges of her mind. Would she stare back at those shadows or finally chart a new course through the darkness? Maya sat on the edge of her bed, the phone still pressed to her ear. Every word Carter spoke felt like an electric current, laced with urgency and anticipation. "Maya, there's something more at stake here than just an internship," he said. Each syllable sank deep within her, igniting a conflict that was equal parts thrilling and terrifying. "So what is it?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "I think you're ready for more than just an intern role. The team is looking for fresh perspectives in an upcoming project, and I believe you could challenge the status quo. We need someone who thinks differently." Maya's heart raced. It felt as if she were standing on the precipice of a cliff, ready to leap into the unknown. But the shadows of her responsibilities lingered like a thick fog. Could she really step into a world where expectations were constants, yet her potential remained largely untapped? "I'm not even sure I have what it takes," she admitted, her walls of self-doubt threatening to close in. Carter sighed, a calming presence on the other end. "What you accomplished at the restaurant was remarkable, Maya. You solved that problem in seconds, remember? Think about it. You have talents that go unnoticed because you're caught in this routine." His words burrowed into her thoughts, forcing her to confront the apt mosaic of her experience. This wasn't just about waiting tables. It was about keen observation amidst chaos, rapid calculations under pressure, skills she had cultivated without realizing their value. If only it were that simple, she breathed, not convinced of her own capabilities. "It is that simple if you let it be," he replied, firm but encouraging. "When can you come to the office to discuss this? We can work together on the concept, and I'll guide you through the process." Maya's mind whirred. An opportunity to contribute, to innovate, to eat at the table instead of serving it. How many others passed on such chances because of self-imposed limitations? What if this was exactly what she needed to forge her path both for her family and for herself? I'll need to think about it, she replied more confidently than she felt. Don't take too long. I believe in you, he said before hanging up, leaving her enveloped in silence. An unexpected warmth surged within her. The winds of change rustled through her thoughts, whispering something she had forgotten, a latent sense of self-worth. Standing up, Maya paced her room, each step amplifying her resolve. She recalled those moments studying intricacies of algorithms and code, days spent transferring her knowledge into practical applications. Life in the restaurant felt so far removed from that potential, yet maybe it didn't have to be. After deliberating, she opened her laptop, eager to explore resources around Anderson Software Solutions. However, as she sifted through the material, a sharp realization struck. The job was not merely about her skills. It would thrust her into an environment where her voice could resonate, where the echoes of her mother's sacrifices might finally find meaning beyond servitude. But as the night wore on, a new layer of conflict brewed inside her. Pursuing this path evidently carried risks her family needed her. Would she abandon their expectations? Each familial responsibility felt like a thread binding her to a role she had not chosen. Maya's fingers hovered above the keyboard, her heart pounding as she battled the weight of the familiar versus the unknown. Would she shatter her safety net and grasp the chance at something greater? The clock ticked on, stark and relentless, reminding her that time was slipping away. The whisper of a decision loomed heavy in the air. Choosing to enact change for herself meant confronting the fears she had long suppressed. Would she for once embrace what it meant to truly live? As dawn began to creep through her window, she inhaled deeply, her thoughts churning with possibilities. It was time to confront her fears and navigate the tumultuous waters of ambition. But the question remained, was she ready to fight against not only the barriers surrounding her but also the ones wedged deep within? With uncertain resolve, she looked at her phone, the offer still fresh in her mind. If she answered it, the course of her life could change forever. The moment of truth beckoned just beyond the horizon, tantalizing and terrifying. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across Maya's room as she wrestled with her thoughts. Each beam of light illuminated the fine dust that had settled on her laptop. The air felt heavy with expectation, the kind that lingered after every significant decision she had ever made. Today, however, was different. Today could carve out a new future. She closed her laptop abruptly, frustration boiling over as her internal dialogue spiraled. It was one thing to consider the opportunity, another to follow through. Images of her family flashed through her mind, the weary eyes of her mother, the silent sacrifices that spoke volumes. The prospect of leaving her familiar life behind in the hopes of a new one was daunting. Maya moved to the full-length mirror at the corner of her room. She caught sight of herself, the reflection of the woman who felt perpetually torn between two worlds. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice barely audible, as if the mirror held the answers she sought. Was she the ambitious coder she dreamt of being, or the dutiful daughter anchored by obligation? Hours slipped away, but the urgency to make a decision festered. She could feel the credits of her past ticking down like a countdown clock, each second a reminder of her limited time to choose courage over complacency. What did she really want? Was it the safety of her current life, or the unpredictable chaos that came with pursuing her dreams? Maya allowed herself to sit on her bed, eyes closed and breathed deeply. She began to tally her capabilities, reminding herself of the times she had thrived in chaos. The restaurant had been a refuge and a crucible, honing her ability to problem-solve quickly, to think on her feet. "Carter believes in you," she murmured, realizing that his faith had ignited a spark she had long buried beneath layers of self-doubt. A few minutes later, she stomped back to her laptop and opened it, navigating through her messages until she opened Carter's contact. The cursor hovered over the call button. Every muscle in her body was rigid with uncertainty. Was she ready to expose herself to judgment? The thought of failure loomed like a dark cloud. But what if she succeeded? The hypothetical felt electrifying but starkly real in the light of day. Maya thought about the stories of those who ventured into the unknown, individuals who dared to write their narratives amidst adversity and doubt. Could she be one of them? What treasures waited on the other side of risk? Visualization of the conference room at Anderson Software Solutions emerged in her mind, carpeted and sunlit, people exchanging ideas that sparked innovation. Suddenly, the walls of her room felt oppressive. With a burst of determination, she grabbed her phone, her fingers shaking slightly as they dialed. The ringing was suffocating in its uncertainty. As each chime echoed, she reminded herself of her worth, of the unique insights only she could offer. This was not just a whimsical leap. It was an assertion of her identity as a force for change. The line clicked and Carter's voice came through, instantly warming her spirit. "Maya, did you make a decision?" Her breath stuck momentarily in her throat, but she pushed through the discomfort. "I'm ready to talk about the project," she said, astonished at the strength in her own voice. Each word felt like a declaration, a chipping away of the confines that had long bound her. "That's great to hear." His enthusiasm reverberated through the line. For the first time, Maya felt a subtle shift within. It wasn't just about the opportunity for work. It was about claiming ownership over her life narrative. She was stepping into the arena, ready to redefine failure not as the end but as part of her evolution. But beneath her burgeoning hope lay the question of how her family would react upon hearing this news. What sacrifices would they have to bear if she moved forward? Would she risk the stability they had built together for a dream that could very well lead to uncertainty? As she hung up the call, Maya hovered between exhilaration and anxiety. She had embraced the opportunity meant for her, but would it come at too great a cost? The horizon shifted, filled with both promise and specter. The road ahead was daunting, yet littered with the pieces of her identity waiting to be assembled into something more. Each step would be met with resistance both externally and from within. And just as she began to process this, a message pinged on her phone, pulling her from contemplation. It was from her brother. "Are we still on for dinner? Mom's worried about you." That nudge from reality grounded her, bringing her back to the intimacy of her immediate world. Could she balance the revelation of her new venture with the love and loyalty that anchored her in place? With a growing sense of determination, Maya knew she had to face her next challenge, one that didn't merely involve code and projects, but navigating the deeper implications of her choices. Embracing her new path would mean confronting her family, unearthing fears while securing alliances. As she slid her phone into her pocket, a palpable tension hung in the air. She was prepared for the inevitable conversations ahead. The moment of truth was just around the corner. It awaited her in all its complexity and discomfort. The real question loomed. Could she stand firm against the tides of doubt from within and the expectations from without? Maya arrived at her family's favorite diner, the familiar scent of fresh pastries mingling with coffee wafting through the air, a cacophony of laughter and chatter enveloping her as she pushed open the door. Yet the delightful atmosphere felt muted against the storm brewing inside her. Each step felt heavier, the walls closing in as her brother, Daniel, waved at her from the corner booth, a reassuring smile on his face that faltered when he noticed her tension. "Hey sis, you're late," he chuckled, though his eyebrows knitted in concern. "Everything all right?" "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Sliding into the booth opposite him, the warmth of the diner felt almost suffocating, an ironic comfort as she wrestled with her impending revelation. The waitress approached with their usual order, delivering plates piled high with pancakes and maple syrup. Maya's stomach churned, sensing the weight of her unacknowledged ambition pressing heavily against the familiar comforts of home. There's something I need to tell you," she began, her voice barely a whisper beneath the clatter of dishes. Daniel paused, his fork hovering midair, shadows of doubt flickering across his face. "What's on your mind?" His focus sharpened. A moment of silence stretched out, each heartbeat a reminder of the threshold she was about to cross. Her mind reeled back to the call with Carter, the thrill mingling with uncertainty. "I've been offered a project with Anderson Software Solutions." "Well, that's awesome," Daniel exclaimed, but his enthusiasm wavered as he caught sight of her serious expression. "What's the catch?" "It would mean I'd have to move. Leave everything." The words felt heavy, like stones being cast into the ocean of their familial connection. She watched as his brow furrowed, the inevitable concerns of distance, expectations and obligations warring inside him. "Are you sure this is what you want? You know Mom worries about you moving so far away," he replied, concern etched in every line of his face. The familiar instinct to shield her family from any potential disappointment washed over her, but she resisted the urge to conceal her aspirations. I know, but this is also about me. I've always wanted to push boundaries and be more than the girl who worked at the diner. Why can't we view this as an opportunity for growth instead of a farewell? Daniel leaned back, the tension simmering in the air, making the laughter around them feel like a different world. I get that, Maya, but you know Dad. His voice trailed off, leaving a silence that echoed the weight of their father's expectations. I have to try, Daniel. Life won't wait for us to be ready. The conviction in her voice surprised even her. Each word birthed a new strength, stripping back the layers of doubt that had weighed her down. He sighed, running a hand through his hair, wrestling with the idea of his sister breaking away. Just promise me you'll think it through. You do have responsibilities here. Maya nodded, though within her determination battled against guilt. Promise. But I also want to explore my potential. I can't be afraid to take risks anymore. As the conversation shifted towards lighter topics, Maya felt the growing energy of her resolve intertwining with her family's concerns. The shimmering line between love and ambition had sharpened into focus. She needed to claim her destiny without losing the bond she cherished. However, beneath her newfound clarity lay an unshakable fear of the unknown. Each loving glance from her brother reminded her of what she might be leaving behind, a delicate balance between emotional safety and professional ascendance. The internal conflict raged on, a reminder that her journey required disentangling from past expectations while also wrestling with her deeper fears. Later that night, as she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, an unexpected thought pierced through her resolve. What if she falters? The image of failure loomed, yet she realized this very uncertainty was precisely the terrain she needed to navigate. With determination rekindled, she sat upright, the moonlight flooding her room as she pulled out her laptop, the source of her longing adventure. The first amends she needed to draft on screen were the terms of her commitment to herself first. As she opened a blank document, poised to outline her vision, her phone buzzed with an unexpected notification. It was a message from Carter. Are you ready to strategize our approach? Let us make magic happen. Maya's pulse quickened, a collision of excitement and trepidation igniting within. This was the moment. Taking a deep breath, she began to type, her fingers dancing across the keys. Each keystroke felt like a decisive stand, carving out an identity intertwined with ambition. But as she pressed send on her ambitious plans, another message pinged in. You got this, but don't forget where you started. It was a reminder from her mother, a call back to her origins that harmonized with her current aspirations, both a comfort and a tether. Now more than ever, she needed to confront her duality, how to evolve without losing sight of who she'd always been. The night held a promise, yet uncertainty lingered like an uninvited guest. The path ahead was fraught, demanding spirit and strategy, and at the forefront rose the true test of her resolve. Could she code her own life as deftly as she navigated programming challenges, and would her heart remain aligned with her ambitions? Tomorrow she would set the tone for the journey, a risk defined not just by achievement, but by understanding what she was willing to sacrifice. As she drifted off into a restless sleep, the question continued to echo through her mind. Was she ready to break free, and if so, at what cost? Maya woke with the first rays of light seeping through her curtains, illuminating the room in a soft glow. The remnants of doubt whirled in her mind like autumn leaves caught in a brisk wind. She sat up, trying to grasp the threads of her aspirations, the project with Anderson Software Solutions, and the life she had always known. It was a tangled web of hope and fear, both invigorating and paralyzing. After a quick breakfast of toast and coffee, she grabbed her laptop. Today she needed clarity. As she logged in, her fingers trembled slightly over the keys. What was she really eager to achieve? The pieces fell into place as she began to type her thoughts, detailing not just her professional goals but her personal values. A vision statement blossomed. I want to innovate, inspire, and grow without losing the core of who I am. Each word felt like a small victory against the anxieties besieging her. Yet the clarity was bittersweet. With every phrase she crafted, the weight of her familial ties pressed down anew. What kind of sister would she be, venturing into an unknown future? A text from Daniel snapped her focus like a twig. How are you feeling about the project? Simple yet heavy with concern, it gnawed at her resolve. I'm excited, honestly. Just working on some plans, she replied, attempting to project calmness, though she could not ignore her fluttering stomach. His response was instantaneous, a mix of support and lingering worry. Just remember to take care of yourself, okay? And maybe give me some time to adjust to the idea? His protectiveness felt like a warm blanket, yet it also ignited her urgency. The numerous conversations they shared about their dreams had always circumnavigated the delicate boundary of family loyalty and personal ambition. Her heart knew she had to traverse that barrier, maintaining her connections while pursuing her own path. The day dragged as she wrestled with complex programming challenges at her current job, each line of code feeling like an echo of her ambitions. Solving bugs became a metaphor for untangling her thoughts. The satisfaction of fixing one issue often gave way to the looming presence of another. In the middle of a particularly tricky algorithm, a solution rushed into her mind, vivid and viable. She typed furiously, the flicker of inspiration igniting her determination. Brilliant! She muttered to herself, her eyes lighting up. As she tested her code, relief washed over her. But in that moment of triumph, she recognized a deeper truth. This coding project was merely a practice run for the personal revolution she was about to embark upon. As the day wound down, the reality of her decision loomed ahead. She realized she needed to confront Carter about her ambitions, no more tiptoeing around the subject. It was time for a dedicated conversation, one that would require her to articulate not just her strengths but also her ideals. Arriving home, the familiar embrace of her family's comforts faded as she contemplated her next steps. Pulling out her phone, she began writing a message to Carter. We need to set a time to discuss the project in depth. I have some ideas I want to introduce more robustly. The immediacy of her decision felt exhilarating but also terrifying, the first leap off the edge. Would this lead to what she envisioned, or plunge her into chaos? Her mother's earlier message echoed in her mind, whispering that life was not simply about scaling new heights. It was about remembering the foundation she stood on. But as she pressed send, her thoughts morphed into heavy knots of anxiety. Would being ambitious be perceived as abandoning her roots? A palpable conflict arose in her mind, reverberating like a drum beat. What if, amidst proving herself, she lost the meaning of home? As the sun set, Maya felt the call of the moment. She had ignited a personal quest, but she must also hold the compass of her values close as she navigated the landscape of her life. In the following days, people in her life would become both challengers and supporters, a combination of tests she had not yet fully prepared to face. If she was to grow, she must face them with fortitude. The real question haunting her mind now was, how would her aspirations impact her relationships, and would she find the courage to reconcile her paths? With a final resolve gripping her heart, she set her alarm for an early morning discussion with Carter. In the pit of her stomach, excitement and fear intertwined into an unbreakable knot. Tomorrow would not just be another day. It would be a defining moment in her journey. But she could not shake the feeling that, no matter how proficient she became at coding her ideal future, the real challenge loomed with the expectations she had yet to confront. Would her family understand her ambition, or would she become a stranger in their eyes? As she closed her eyes that night, she felt a quiet but insistent pull towards the unknown, and all it would uncover about her true self. The crossroads were approaching, and she could almost hear their rumble in the distance. It was time to face both her strengths and vulnerabilities head-on. Maya woke with a jolt, the buzzing of her alarm cutting through the fog of dreams. Today was the day. She could feel the weight of expectation pressing against her chest as she swung her legs over the side of the bed. Memories of last night's doubts twisted her stomach, nudging her to backtrack. But she pushed the thoughts aside. There was no room for second-guessing now. After a quick shower, she dressed carefully, the fabric of her clothes feeling rich against her skin, imbued with the promise of the day ahead. As she walked to the kitchen, she brushed her fingers against the walls, each surface alive with the memories of laughter and love that had enclosed her since childhood. But as her fingers passed over the frames of family photos, a pang gripped her. Would they still look at her with pride after revealing her plans, or would it divert their gaze? Her coffee was ready, the steam rising in a comforting spiral. She sat at the table, attempting to visualize the conversation with Carter. Would he understand her desire to break free from the mold? He had always been a steadfast companion, but lately, She felt the tectonic plates of their friendship tilting. This project with Anderson Software Solutions was more than just a job. It was a manifestation of everything she aspired to be. Her phone vibrated, and she glanced at the screen to see Daniel's name. "Ready for the big talk?" he texted. Her heart raced in response. A flash of doubt momentarily clouded her clarity. "Let us go for it," she typed back, forcing her thumb to pause as she considered the weight of the words. "I'm ready. Wish me luck." As she pulled out of her driveway, the familiar streets of her neighborhood felt vividly alive, yet strangely distant, a bridge between the world she loved and the one she was daring to create. The drive to the office felt longer than usual, as if the universe wanted to prolong her anticipation, each red light a reminder of the thoughts bubbling within her that needed to be voiced. Arriving at work, the ambience of the office surrounded her. Colleagues were scattered around, engrossed in their own projects, yet Maya felt an acute sense of isolation. She maneuvered her way to Carter's office, heart racing with each step. The air crackled with unspoken tension, and as she knocked and stepped inside, the world outside faded. Carter looked up, quizzical eyebrows raised. "Hey Maya. Everything okay?" She swallowed hard, the lump in her throat serving as a barrier to her words. "I wanted to talk about my role in the upcoming project with Anderson Software Solutions. I've been thinking a lot about how I want to contribute." He motioned for her to continue, but uncertainty swirled in her mind. Here was her moment, yet the fear of losing what she had tethered her to the floor. She shifted, attempting to steady her voice. "I want to take a more active lead. I have ideas that could really shape what we're doing." His gaze intensified, searching for sincerity. "What kind of ideas?" Maya steadied her breath and began. She articulated her vision, her newfound ambition painting vivid images in the air between them. Each point brought her to life as she watched Carter lean forward, nodding in understanding. The frictions within her softened with every word spoken, but in the back of her mind a lingering question nagged. Would this lead to greater acceptance, or shatter the camaraderie they had built? As she pushed the boundaries of her ambition, was she isolating herself from her roots? Carter's initial hesitation seemed to thaw. "I like your energy, Maya, but I have to admit, I didn't expect you to approach this so boldly." "Family expectations," she admitted, leaning into the vulnerability. "I felt the pull between loyalty and ambition. I think it's time I carve my own space." Silence hung in the air as Carter processed her words. "I get that," he finally said, his tone allowing a glimpse of shared understanding, "but you have to consider how your changes will affect the team. Not everyone will be as responsive to your vision." Maya felt her resolve waver. For a moment, the thought of facing distrust made her heart clench. "I understand the risks," she replied, already wondering if she was stepping into uncharted territory. Their conversation had ignited a spark, but the real battle had only just started. She was convinced that her dedication could break through the barriers of her relationships, if only she could find a way to communicate her ambitions without losing the essence of who she was. With the meeting coming to a close, Carter looked at her with a mixture of caution and curiosity. "Let us draft a proposal then. We'll present it together." "You're on to something big, Maya." A rush of adrenaline surged through her. In that moment she felt seen, even if the road ahead remained obscured by shadows. But as they wrapped up, a sensation of impending doubt washed over her. Would this newfound clarity hold when faced with the expectations of her family? What would happen when she stepped back through those familiar doors at home, the weight of her aspirations clashing with the comfort of her past? The exchange with Carter had been a fracture in her internal landscape, and while it revealed a deeper connection she yearned for, the echo of her family's expectations still loomed large. As she left his office, she glanced towards the window where gray clouds rolled in. Suddenly, she realized her journey was turning into a storm. It was about to confront her like never before. How far was she willing to go to honor her dreams? Tomorrow would be a new challenge as she faced not just Carter's skepticism, but the uncertainty surrounding her family's acceptance of her ambition. Deciding to embrace the chaos, she took a deep breath, ready for the next surge of discovery. Maya arrived home with the storm still brewing within her. The day had hurtled past, driving her emotions into a whirlwind of exhilaration and anxiety. The prospect of presenting her proposal with Carter filled her with anticipation, but it was the unrelenting shadow of familial expectations that gnawed at her spirit. As she stepped through the front door, a weight settled on her shoulders, made heavier by the familiarity of her surroundings. The scent of her mother's renowned spaghetti sauce wafted through the air, a comforting reminder of home. Her family was gathered around the dinner table, laughter echoing with the clinking of plates and silverware. Yet, as she crossed the threshold into the kitchen, she felt like a ghost, detached from the vibrant life thriving all around her. "Hey Maya," her younger brother called, his face lighting up as he spotted her. "You made it just in time. Mom's making your favorite." She forced a smile, but the tension curled tight in her gut. "Yeah, I just got back from work," she said, trying to suppress the thoughts swirling just beneath the surface. "How was it? Any news on the big project?" Her mom's voice cut through the chatter, eager and hopeful. Maya hesitated, the ambivalence of her reality clashing with their expectations. Family discussions typically revolved around safety, stability, and comfort, yet she stood on the brink of evolution. "Actually, I'm going to take a more active role," she began slowly, testing the waters of their reactions. "Carter and I are working on a proposal." Her sister looked up, eyebrows raised. "That sounds exciting. But are you sure you want to take on so much? You've always been in the background." The table fell silent. A bead of apprehension slid down Maya's spine as she absorbed their expressions. Would this bold leap into the light dim their proud acknowledgement of her past roles? Would they question her intentions? Deciding to quell her anxiety, Maya pressed on. "I think it's time for me to really contribute. I have fresh ideas I believe can make a difference." Her voice trembled, but she pressed through the fear gnawing at her. Her father leaned back in his chair, scrutinizing her. "Ideas are great, Maya, but they can't just be wishes. You need a solid plan to execute them." His tone, though wrapped in caring, reminded her of the layers of doubt she was about to face. Maya swallowed, feeling the weight of expectation reformulate itself into an invisible chain. What if stepping outside the stable shadows of her family's perception only brought criticism? What if ambition cultivated resentment among those she loved? Yet her vision for success blazed brightly, a beacon cutting through the haze of apprehension. "I know it won't be easy," she responded, her voice gaining strength. "I've spent too long holding back. This project could be a turning point for me." Her mother exchanged glances with her father, uncertainty flashing in their eyes. "Just remember, it's important to have balance," her mother said gingerly. "We love you and we want you to be happy, but don't lose sight of who you are or where you came from." Seizing the moment, Maya embraced vulnerability. "I don't want to lose sight of anything, but I need to explore who I can become." A charged silence enveloped the table, the air thick with unspoken questions and concerns. She could sense a shift in the dynamic. It wasn't just about her ambition anymore, but about reevaluating what family meant in light of personal growth. How far could she push before they all cracked under the pressure? The meal continued, but each bite felt heavy with the burden of her unspoken aspirations. As laughter resumed around the table, Maya's thoughts were somewhere else, on tomorrow's meeting with Carter, and how her proposal would be received. Would she feel the same supportive camaraderie she had felt earlier? Or would she be met with the harsh realities of skepticism once again? Later that night, as she lay in bed, the images of her family flickered vividly in her mind, interlacing with the potential future she envisioned. She could almost taste the thrill of success, but the fear of alienation sizzled just beneath that surface. There was a voice in her that began to question, what if they don't accept this new version of me? Just as she started to drift into uncertain sleep, a thought jolted her wide awake. What if tomorrow was the day everything shifted? What if she had to make a choice, not just between dreams and family, but also between authenticity and conformity? Determined to face whatever lay ahead, she gritted her teeth and made a silent vow. No matter the outcome, she would fight for her right to evolve. And as she exhaled slowly, a resolve settled within her, stronger than ever. Tomorrow would be the true test of her spirit. But as sleep finally took her, she couldn't shake the feeling that this journey was only beginning, and a storm of consequences awaited at dawn. Would she emerge stronger? Or would she be swept away in the tides of conflict? Maya awoke to the chaotic symphony of raindrops tapping rhythmically against her window, and the distant rumble of thunder. The oppressive weight of the previous night settled in her chest, a reminder of the choices awaiting her. As she prepared for the day, the tension in her muscles mirrored the storm outside. Each click of her heels on the hardwood floor intensifying her anxiety. She dressed meticulously, opting for an outfit that hinted at her determination, a navy blazer that evoked professionalism, paired with a deep burgundy blouse that spoke of individuality. The mirror reflected her resolve, but it was countered by the flicker of doubt lurking behind her eyes. Would this advised presentation be enough to prove not just her ambition, but her capability? On the drive to the office, she replayed the presentation in her mind. Each slide was a canvas where her ideas transformed into compelling arguments, and each statistic was backed by thorough research. But still the inner voice persisted. What if the novelty of her proposals fell on deaf ears? Or worse, what if Carter grew impatient with her visions, leading to dissent? As she entered the office, the atmosphere buzzed with the everyday undertones of office life. Colleagues hurried past, their conversations blending into a million shades of small talk. Maya took a deep breath, determining to stride into the conference room with confidence. The meeting was about to begin, and Carter, her partner in this endeavor, arrived, offering a reassuring nod. His presence was a stark contrast to her whirlwind of anxieties. They exchanged a few words on last-minute adjustments, and for a moment, her nervous tension dwindled, overshadowed by a shared focus on their goal. When it was time to present, Maya's heart raced, and she could feel the weight of her family's expectations pressing on her. She stood at the front of the room, ready to unveil her proposal. As she spoke, her voice steadied, each word weaving the story of her research and insights. The initial stares of uncertainty began to transform into interest. With each slide, she leaned more into her narrative, illustrating not just the figures starkly projected on the screen, but the emotion behind her vision. This wasn't simply a proposal, it was her declaration of intent. She envisioned a project that prioritized innovation, aligning it with the company's values, expanding the idea beyond what was conventionally accepted. But then, just as she reached the culmination of her pitch, an unexpected question arose from one of the senior executives, crisp with skepticism. "What makes you think this approach would work when others have in tea?" Maya felt the heat rise in her cheeks, the air pulled tight around her. The familiar pang of vulnerability surged, but she reminded herself that this moment was where true growth happened. Instead of retreating, she stood firm, allowing her training and dedication to reflect in her demeanor. "We have to redefine our metrics for success," she answered, her tone steady. "The market is shifting, and our approach must do the same. I believe we have the tools for that shift." Gradually, she could see the nods around the room, the tension easing as her colleagues engaged with her perspective. Maya bounced off their energy, transforming trepidation into a vibrant exchange of ideas. As the discussion unfolded, she realized her earlier fears were rooted in the specter of not merely disappointing her family, but failing to honor her own aspirations. After the meeting concluded, Carter approached, excitement illuminating his features. "You were fantastic. I knew you had it in you," he exclaimed, the warmth of his encouragement washing over her. In that moment, Maya recognized a significant shift within herself, a resilience that tapped into her deeper well of potential, unseen until now. Energized but still on edge, she navigated her way back to her desk, her mind churning with possibilities. If she could articulate her vision effectively in front of skeptics, what other boundaries could be pushed? But even more pressing, the riddle remained. Could she continue evolving without leaving her family behind? As the day drew to a close, Maya's heart raced not merely from ambition but from a newfound defiance. It was becoming increasingly clear that the storm brewing inside wasn't merely one of conflict. It was a catalyst for transformation. Would she be bold enough to challenge not just others, but herself in unimaginable ways? When she left the office, the clouds had begun to part, revealing streaks of sunlight breaking through, an omen perhaps, or merely a coincidence. Regardless, Maya made a promise to herself. She wouldn't shy away from any challenge henceforth. The path ahead might demand resilience she had yet to uncover, but there was no turning back now, no suppressing her growing fervor. Before stepping into the calm streets, she paused, realizing the true test was just beginning. With the shadows of her family's expectations lingering, she whispered into the wind, "What legacy do I want to build?" As she walked into a new chapter of clarity infused with empowerment, She knew the answers would require courage, yet she felt ready. Little did she know, revelation awaited just around the corner, pushing her further into the depths of her own identity. Would she be able to reclaim her narrative without sacrificing the parts of her past that she loved? And as the last echoes of thunder faded into silence, another storm brewed, one of self-discovery and ambition awaiting her next move. Maya stood before the mirror, a suite of freshly pressed clothes hugging her frame. The blazer, a deep navy, projected confidence. The blouse, a pop of burgundy, whispered individuality. The reflection staring back at her felt formidable. This was the moment she transformed her dreams into reality. Gone were the days of quiet acceptance. Today marked the culmination of her journey toward self-discovery. As she made her way to the Anderson Software Solutions office, memories of the previous days crystallized in her mind. Her presentation had been met with skepticism, yet it burgeoned into lively discussions that challenged the status quo. Confidence surged within her, fueled by the energy she had once feared stepping into. With every second, she moved closer to embodying the ambitious innovator she yearned to be. Sitting at her desk, she reviewed the feedback from her presentation, constructive critiques, mixed with genuine curiosity from her colleagues. "You have a unique perspective," one colleague had commented. This acknowledgement deepened her understanding that her distinct voice was a valuable asset, not a burden to be hidden. Honing in on her strengths ignited a burning desire, ready to expand what she could achieve. Maya took a breath and opened her laptop, clicking over to the proposal document they had drafted together. She infused new insights, refined her arguments, and submitted it for review. Each word penned felt like an act of reclamation. This was not merely about coding. It was about reshaping her legacy. Later that day, Carter approached her with a contemplative expression etched across his face. "Can we chat?" he asked, steering her to a quiet corner of the office. "I wanted to discuss your presentation. You really held your ground against some tough questions." Their conversation flowed easily, a mixture of professional encouragement and mutual respect blooming in the space between them. "You came alive in that meeting," he said. "Have you noticed how your confidence resonates with the team?" Maya's heart swelled. Recognition leveled her previous fears, illuminating the path ahead. "I think I'm finally owning who I am, not just a waitress but a coder, a problem solver. I want more for myself and my career," she confessed, the weight of truth hanging in the air. "Their essay project coming up that needs a leader, and I think you're the right person," Carter offered. His words struck like a lightning bolt. This was the breakthrough she had envisioned. She didn't need to pigeonhole herself anymore. She could excel and embrace the fullness of her potential. "Absolutely, I'm in," Maya responded, enthusiasm bubbling within. The leap from uncertainty to clarity was exhilarating, affirming her decision to venture beyond the expectations of those around her. Yet, she felt the echo of familial concerns hovering close by. Upon returning home, her family gathered around the dinner table, laughter ringing as they engaged in playful banter. The familiar warmth surrounded her, a home she held dear. But she knew the conversation they needed to have loomed just ahead. "Did anything exciting happen at work today?" her mother asked, the expectant joy in her eyes sparking a pang of affection within Maya. "Yes," she began, mustering her courage. "I got a leadership opportunity at Anderson Software." When silence fell, she watched as her family's smile slipped slightly, eclipsed by caution. "What does that mean?" her brother probed, his curiosity laced with concern. "It means I'm going to lead a project. It's an incredible opportunity." But the words stumbled out, thick with uncertainty. "It will take time and I'll have to adjust my focus to make this work." Her sister raised an eyebrow, skepticism creeping in. "Just remember to balance it all," she advised, caution settling thick in the air. Maya felt a twinge of disappointment. Why couldn't they see this for what it was? "I want to do this," she declared. "It's important for my growth, and I believe it aligns with our values as a family to strive for more." The room grew quiet as she exposed her aspirations, every word lingering like a soft plea. "Their essay risk involved," her mother cautioned while remaining supportive. "Your commitment to the family is important." "I know, but I can't keep making decisions only for everyone else," Maya insisted, a strength emerging. "I want to make sacrifices that uplift us all. Taking this leap benefits not just me but all of us someday too." The conversation flickered back and forth, emotions dancing in a complex rhythm of familial loyalty and individual ambition. Yet with each exchange, her resolve fortified. They needed to understand that she could cultivate both her career and love for her family simultaneously. A week later, after working tirelessly on her project, Edgar's Tech Forum invited her to showcase her findings at an emerging technology expo. Standing on stage, she shared her insights, revealing not only her technical skills but an undeniable passion for problem-solving. The applause that erupted felt like a symphony, each clap resonating with validation. She had conquered more than just a stage. Moments after, she stepped down amid a sea of inquiries, her heart swelling with pride. This was her achievement, a tangible reflection of her growth, no longer just a waitress but a recognized leader. Returning home, she discovered a banner hanging in the living room, painstakingly crafted by her siblings. "Congrats, Maya. We're proud of you." They enveloped her in tight hugs, the weight of their support unburdening her heart. Tears pooled in her eyes. In that moment, she understood that growth did not come at a cost but enhanced her connection to her family. In the ensuing weeks, Maya balanced her role, flexible yet firm, her ambitions carving pathways of opportunity, not just for herself but for the generations following. The whispers of fear transformed into an anthem of resilience. Each small victory built upon the last, creating a legacy that honored her roots while allowing her to excel in new fields. As she lay in bed that night, pride a soothing balm, she reveled in how far she had traveled. The challenges no longer paralyzed her. Instead, they fueled an unquenchable thirst for success. She had conquered her fears, demonstrated her worth, and transformed expectations into pathways of empowerment. Tomorrow awaited, a fresh canvas ready for her vision, and she felt undeniable confidence surge through her. She had stepped into an established position, one that intertwined her identity with ambitions once deemed unattainable. Life was no longer a burden, but rather a tapestry of possibilities unfurling before her. This was the moment to seize her destiny fully. And you need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss out on incredible stories of transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our channel. You're part of this journey. Comment below with your thoughts and theories about Maya's empowering conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring breakthrough.